Hello everyone, Albatross here. For those that don't know, Fresh Start servers are coming to New World on November 2nd, which means that we have the opportunity to start anew on Eternum once again. The New World that we experienced at launch is very much a thing of the past. The game now sports a significant number of improvements, including but not limited to cheaper fast traveling, the removal of expedition keys, the ability to look at your inventory while moving, streamlined leveling for crafting and gathering disciplines, and vastly improved main story quests up to level 30. This video will touch on the things you're going to want to know while leveling up on Fresh Start servers this November. Feel free to use the timestamps below if you want to pick and choose as to what you want to look at. Otherwise, let's get right into the video. First things first, this is a bit of an oldie but a goodie, something that I want everybody to make sure that they're aware of. You can skip the tutorial missions at the start of the game once you get onto the beach by hitting escape and going to skip tutorial. You'll be able to see this right on the screen. You can save yourself some time and try to get yourself ahead of the pack. That might make leveling up just that little bit easier on day one. Now, with that being said, if this is your first time playing New World, I do strongly recommend just kind of enjoying this aspect of the game. Take your time, learn some stuff that the game wants to teach you, and enjoy that first little cinematic of you uncovering the island. Really is a well done tutorial that just has some great views towards the end. Would recommend. But if you've done it before, if you've been here like me, feel free to use the skip. Now, the first main thing I want to talk about that's new content is the starting weapons. Before, it was pretty random as to what weapons you would get at the start of the game, kind of depended on what you pick up from chests or random item drops. The only certainty was you would get a sword and a shield. Now, however, the starting beaches have every weapon in the game leaned against things, on crates, on crevices, that you'll be able to pick up. So, if you have a certain weapon or weapons in mind that you want to run, this should help you get started. Now, let's talk about what you should be doing to get the bulk of your XP for Fresh Start servers. First things first, the town board has been chucked into the dumpster, so if you're a returning player that was planning on using that again to get leveled up, I would not recommend it. The XP has been nerfed significantly. You're going to want to go back to the drawing board. The only use for town board now is to help your company level up what they're trying to upgrade in the towns, or if you're trying to get territory standing. Now, with town boards, as I said, in the dumpster, what should you be doing to get your XP? And the answer, quite simply, is questing. Questing is now the best source of XP in the game, and is actually the best way to progress in several ways, and I'll kind of go into that right now. First of all, XP you get from questing has been buffed significantly for the main story rework, so you now can get pretty much 60 just from doing main and side quests alone. No more needing to run portal trains, spam town board, nothing like that. You can actually level up just through questing if you want to. Also, these quests are especially valuable because the items you receive for completing them are actually very, very strong. This means that as you start completing these side quests for NPCs, they'll give you a piece of gear that you actually want to use, which, quite frankly, is a little surprising that it took them this long to start implementing that. Additionally, many of these side quests also tend to lead you to the same areas at once, so you can complete them in batches for some satisfying efficiency. This means that you can come back, turn in, and head back out to a different area to complete the next batch, always feeling like you're making good progress. And since we're on the subject of efficiency, I want to touch on the new system we have for fast traveling. First of all, it is significantly cheaper than the old days. You can go pretty much wherever you want for 10 to 20 Azoth, and it feels so much better being able to zip around the map without actually having to stop and run portal trains to keep up with the massive, staggering costs. You will also be happy to know that a ton of additional shrines have been added over the map, which will make it so much easier for you to get around and use your time effectively. Which leads me to one of my biggest pieces of advice that I can give you, is that if you're out questing and notice a shrine nearby, make sure you go discover it for later use before you head back. You will thank your future self, so try to keep your eye out as you go. You'll be able to see blue pillars of light reaching up into the sky as you move around the map. If you notice one, just kind of mosey over, grab it, and go about your day. Now let's talk about life skilling. Life skilling and how it's changed will probably end up being its own more complete video down the road, but for those that plan to gather and craft a lot on their leveling journey, I just want to touch on a couple things. If that isn't for you, feel free to skip this part. They're all timestamped below. Now that all the nerds are gone, gathering is probably going to be the single best source of income in the beginning weeks of Fresh Start there is. Gathering materials like iron, rawhide, and greenwood will be hugely valuable for players trying to level up their refining and their crafting, or pushing town board, and you can take full advantage of them and the people that just skip this section. So for people that want to make money over XP, this is going to be the way to make it happen. The XP has been evened out significantly compared to a year ago as well. For those that played back at the start, you can remember that skinning had XP that was just given out like candy. You leveled it up so quickly, you didn't even really have to try. Comparatively, logging and mining were like pulling teeth. You would spend hours and hours trying to grind it up, and you just would make very little progress for all of that effort. However, I'm happy to say that a lot of this has changed. This evening out means that you will no longer have to chop mature and young trees for what feels like a week to make wood and ironwood. The breakpoints for tier 5 materials have also been lowered down from 175 to 150, so these should make things a lot more attainable, and it should feel a lot better early on trying to rush for these tier 5 mats. Speaking of these changes, if you want to check out my video on the Brimstone patch notes, feel free to click the link in the top right corner. I would also recommend either you or a member of your friend group rush the ability to craft star metal tools early on. Getting access to these in the early game will provide you with a massive gathering speed increase. Also, that extra passive will just be very nice to get extra yield out of your time. Speaking of engineering in this case, the XP you earn from crafting disciplines has been reworked as well. There are now first-time craft modifiers that will give you a boost for the first time you craft an item, which you see now on the screen. This should help those crafting levels get pushed as you're trying to find ways to get that XP and hit that 100 bracket to be able to make star metal tools, for example. This means that you can get a lot of bonus XP by just making one of every item, which should de-incentivize people from just spamming out one thing and should make the overall leveling experience for these disciplines feel a lot better. Now let's talk about weapon mastery. Those that don't know, weapon mastery is how you get skill points for your weapons in New World. You can just get this mastery passively as you kill mobs or other players in the open world, but there are ways to fast track this if it's something that you really want to grind as you level up. I personally would recommend focusing on levels and getting the what mastery you can as you go and worrying about it more once you hit level 60. But if you want to focus more on PvP in the early game, it totally makes sense to want to get more of these skill points faster. Mastery comes most efficient from two sources. One is killing other players where you can get hundreds from one kill depending on how long that person's been alive while flagged. Two being elite mobs, which you can find in elite zones or expeditions around the map. Grinding these elite zones in a group is probably the most consistent way to get mastery overall. But of course, fighting players is always going to be really fun, so do whichever way that most enjoy. The last thing I want to touch on is the importance of named items and making sure you loot chests. Named items have seen a noticeable buff, making them very useful for swinging above your weight and making your leveling experience that much easier. With these buffs to named items, grinding elite zones is even better now than it once was, so keep that in mind as you progress. Maybe try to find a group as you move through Weaver's Fen and Brightwood, hit up their elite zones and get a nice power spike to be able to punch up into the zones right after. Make that Morningdale leveling just that much easier. Additionally, refining materials have been reworked to only spawn as the tier 5 versions of themselves, making every single piece be worth just as much early on as they are in the later stages of the game. Make sure you pick these up as you go, make yourself a nice stockpile. These mats will also be great sources of gold early on, so if you don't plan to do much refining yourself, you can always sell them for profit. Speaking of early gold, these chests can also give you gems, schematics, sheet music, and trophy materials, which will all make you tons of money early on as everybody's going to be wanting these items. Thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe, there will be more New World content going forward, and of course, more guides as well. I also stream most days on Twitch, so if you're going to be going hard on the Fresh Start servers, feel free to come say hello, ask questions, hang out, and I will be more than happy to answer anything you have to ask me, or just have a chat. See you all again next time. Have a great day.